this strategy, we are going to launch four areas that have been actually talked about. The first one is actually long-term low emission strategy that is going to be launched. The second one is National Climate Change Action Plan, that is NCCAP 2023 to 2027. The third one is Climate Change Act of 2023. Again, it has been mentioned by P.S. Ngeno. And then finally, we want to make sure that we launch the county investment grants under the Financing Local-Led Climate Action, which is FLOCA. This event demonstrates the government of Kenya's commitment and its in tackling the climate change through enabling policy frameworks and also pioneering leadership on stepping up financing at the local level. Your Excellencies, I will also focus my remarks on the Financing Local-Led Climate Action Program, FLOCA, and the launch of the county investment grants, which I think PS volunteered to actually provide the information, so I have no surprises to make. The FLOCA program is designed to encourage cross-agency collaboration and vertical linkages from the community level up to the national level in addressing climate change action. It is a pioneer program for developing and even decentralizing climate finance in scale to specifically specifically deliver local-led climate adaptation and even some less serious actions, as well as strengthen county and national governments' institutional capacity to predict, plan, budget, implement, and monitor, report, and even report climate actions that have been successful. It is important to note that without financial support that helps communities to develop in an inclusive manner and adopt to climate impact, climate change is projected to push tens of millions, especially at the low level, into extreme and even abject poverty. This has happened. For example, what we experienced last year and the beginning of this year has been a good example that food security and climate change became quite devastating and reversed all efforts in terms of poverty reduction and even fighting inequality, and even introduced the dimension of civil conflict because of fight for natural resources. We have managed to secure a total of $297 million to finance this program. And I want to list how they have been contributed. The World Bank has provided from the IDA US $150 million. Denmark, through Danida, has provided $8.9 million. Sweden, through CEDA, has provided $14.4 million. German government, through KfW, has provided $3.7 million. The Netherlands have provided $10 million. The government of Kenya has also made a contribution of $5 million, but it's also very important and encouraging to notice that the counties themselves, consistent with what Her Excellency Governor Iguru has mentioned, the 47 counties have made a contribution of $75 million, Your Excellency. So you can see that it's really some very important for us to recognize that. We are therefore honored and delighted to join the global community and our development partners to jointly launch the Country Climate Resilience Investment Grants under the FLOCA program. Today's launch of the program's investment grant for the counties is a milestone and a testament towards accelerating a low-carbon and climate-resilient path through enhanced mobilization of resources that will finance these actions. During the financial year 2022-2023, the National Treasury transferred to the counties a total of Kenya shillings 979 million for the FLOCA County Institutional Support Grant. The launch of the Kenya shillings 7.387 billion for the financial year 2023 to 2024 will therefore go a long way in strengthening the county's capacity and even capability to implement the low carbon and climate resilient interventions. The imminent implementation of the FLOCA program by rural county governments signifies and even becomes a monumental step forward it is significant that our collective determination to transform our climate change challenges into opportunities for growth and sustainability becomes very critical. This initiative is not merely a directive, it is a testament to our shared belief in fostering resilient communities and safeguarding the well-being of the current and the future generations. Your Excellencies, we are happy to note that the high commitment by the county governments to implement the FROCA program is quite admirable. This is demonstrated by the keenness, the speed at which they have implemented some of the activities, and they have put in place the necessary climate change policies, registration, and even institutional capacities. So I'm very happy that we have come to this far, and we are very encouraged by that heterogeneity. In conclusion, Your Excellencies, I wish to thank our development partners for their collaboration and financial support in this initiative. By embracing the financing of locally led initiatives and uniting our expertise and aspirations, we are fostering a culture of collaboration and innovation. Finally, also, it's also good to mention that it is a showcase for Kenya so that other African countries can follow suit, so that we not only deal with the national level issues, but also at the local and county level devolved functions. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thanks so much, Professor Ndungu, Cabinet Secretary. At least it's confirmed the financing is there. We appreciate you. Your Excellency, as I come to the end of this segment, allow me to invite Honorable Soipan Tuya, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry, whose responsibility is to work with the counties in mainstreaming the programs of LTS, NCAP, Climate Change Amendment, and the FLOCA programs. Welcome, Waziri.
Thank you, PS. Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Excellency Julius Maada, President of Sierra Leone, Excellency Nangolo Mbumba, Vice President of Namibia, Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, President of the Republic, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Excellency, implementation of Kenya's nationally determined contributions and LTS, we have the National Climate Change Action Plan that is reviewed every 5 years. Today, we present for launching the reviewed National Climate Change Action Plan 3 for 2023 up to 2027. The development of the National Action Plan was guided by a steering committee, very consultative, involving the participation of state departments and agencies of the national government, county governments, civil society, the private sector, academia, a wide range of individuals and institutions. It therefore reflects the various sector commitments to address climate change in the next 5 years. And as a ministry, we recognize and applaud these individual and collective efforts. Excellencies, we are also launching the recently assented to Climate Change Act Amendment of 2023. Kenya enacted the Climate Change Act in 2016. However, to make it responsive to the aspirations of the Paris Agreement on Sustainable Development and Alleviation of Poverty, we have just amended this law to capture a regulatory framework for carbon markets, which will ensure high integrity, high quality, and transparent engagements in the carbon market framework. We are proud today, as a ministry and as government, to present one-of-a-kind carbon market regulatory framework law in Africa. We wish to thank the Houses of Parliament for support, as well as His Excellency, the President, for assenting this bill into law in the last few days. we witnessed a lot of huge interest from individual Kenyans, non-state actors, and therefore it is a reflection of the ambition of Kenyans towards creating an enabling environment for investment in our carbon credits. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, adequate and predictable climate finance is key for implementation of climate action. This calls for enhanced resource mobilization through bilateral, multilateral, and concessional funding. The Financing Locally Led Climate Action Program, FLOCA, is one of these attempts and has crowdfunding from the World Bank, governments of Germany, Denmark, Sweden, the Netherlands, as well as the government of Kenya, to the tune of $295 million US. It is important to note that over 80% of these funds will flow directly to our devolved units at the ward level to support local level climate action. This is squarely in the core of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Today, we will witness the handing over of the first tranche for county governments, which will be utilized for the local level support, community resilient investments. And I am looking forward to breathing life into our intergovernmental framework together with Excellency governors present here through this collaboration and beyond. As a government led by His Excellency the President, we also launched the 15 billion tree growing national landscape and ecosystem restoration program. This was in December of last year. And this is part of our climate action to support carbon sequestration. And we have our targets set out clearly. And Your Excellencies present here today, as I said, that Kenya is leading from the front. We continue to push the envelope beyond the business as usual scenario. We continue to push the envelope beyond the set targets, because as it is the main gist of the summit, the Africa Climate Summit, what we are all doing from the global level is not enough. We have to take our initiatives to a bigger scale. We have to react with the urgency as well as the inclusivity and global efforts to make sure that we all achieve our targets. I conclude by thanking all of you for the continued support accorded to the government of Kenya and through all these policies, laws and strategies on climate action. Receive our utmost assurance of their effective implementation to facilitate and implement climate action across the country. With those remarks, I now take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to invite His Excellency President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto, to make his remarks. Welcome, Your Excellency.
and strategies at every level and in every sector. The documents we are about to launch outline Kenya's ambition to implement a low-carbon and climate-resilient development strategy pathway. To begin with, the long-term low-emissions carbon development strategy provides the salient actions intended to enable the country undertake comprehensive decarbonization of economic activity and achieve resilience to the adverse impacts of climate change by 2050. Secondly, the National Climate Change Action Plan 2023-2027 maps out in detail the sequence of clear and measurable actions that form the implementation pathway towards the attainment of the long-term Parliament for expeditiously discharging their responsibility in a piece of legislation. This legislation will establish the necessary institutional framework to rally stakeholders towards the achievement of national climate action objectives. It is noteworthy that the primary thrust of the amendment is to provide the exploration of the full potential of carbon markets in Kenya in order to access adequate financing for effective climate action. An overarching goal of the National Climate Action Plan is to align climate action in Kenya $62 billion. To access this level of funding, it is critical for us to collaborate with a broad coalition of stakeholders led by development partners in implementing various projects and programs. And I want to, in a very special way, on behalf of government and people of Kenya, thank our development partners that have spoken here and those who have not for being great partners of the Republic of Kenya. I promise you they deserve a better round of applause. Thank you. That's so little for us to do for the so much they have done for us. One such program is the Financing Locally Led Climate Action, which we call FLOCA, which is dedicated to supporting the delivery of locally led climate action by strengthening the capacity of county and national governments to manage climate risk from the bottom. The FLOCA program design provides a bold and innovative bottom-up decentralization of climate financing as well as decision-making, thereby empowering the lowest units, which are the grassroots level communities in each of Kenya's 1,450 wards. These communities will take charge of the process of identification, planning, and implementation of climate action based on existing climate risk and existing local knowledge. This approach not only aligns with the rallying call of this summit, it also reprofiles communities as agents of change. Climate action and resilience building are not mere victims of climate change. Further, it provides a framework for ready access to local and traditional knowledge and practices used by communities to survive and thrive in the midst of constant change and crisis. The achievements of the program so far include the establishment of fundamental climate action institutions in counties, including county climate change legislation and regulatory frameworks, county climate change units, and county climate change funds, as well as 1,450 ward climate change planning committees. As you can see, it is a robust network that is already built on existing institutions to avoid any duplication. Another commendable achievement under the FLOCA is the development of county climate change action plans through inclusive and through participatory climate risk assessments at the community level. Additionally, the government under FLOCA has transferred nearly $7 million, about $1 billion shillings, to counties to support county institutional reform and county-level participatory climate risk assessments. This support has borne fruit and pointed us in a highly encouraging direction towards progress in climate action. As a result, I will today issue Kenya shillings 7.2 billion, approximately $50 million to counties in the form of county climate change investment grants, which together with the Kenya shillings 3 billion, about $20 million of county-owned resource allocations, will finance local climate action priorities in agriculture, water, and national resource management in every county, cascaded to every ward. I very sincerely thank our governors for their support of the program, which has made it easier for us to achieve so much progress in such a very short time. In the same vein, I encourage them to go further and offer more robust support for our efforts to grow 15 billion trees over the next decade in order to achieve a national tree cover of 30% by the year 2032. I commend the effective collaboration between the Ministries of National Treasury and Planning and Environment and Climate Change and Forestry with the Council of Governors, which have facilitated the implementation of FLOCA, recognize the significant support that has come from the World Bank, the governments of Germany, Sweden, Denmark, and Netherlands, and encourage more development partners to come on board. It should go without saying that the government remains fully committed to ensuring that funds mobilized under these and other programs are fully utilized for the intended purposes and in the intended manner, and that we shall remain vigilant, and I dare say ruthless, against any malpractice. Munajua mambo ni matatu. Effective partnership. Effective partnership is the engine behind the success of programs like FLOCA, which have placed Kenya firmly on the path towards adaptation and resilience, and also propelled the country close to establishing a national electric power grid made of 100% of renewable energy. Our vision to reach this target by 2030, as a prelude to drive green industrialization, is the future of economic growth. Take the first step by forming the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, where we will share expertise, experience, and innovations to accelerate the progress of our efforts to unlock our tremendous renewable potential to transform our economies. As a body of peers, the Accelerated Partnership for Renewable Energy in Africa, APRA, will rely on sharing, collaboration, and mutual reinforcement, as well as the power of partnership to enhance our capacity, empower the youth, and attract investment. Under APRA, I look forward to interacting closely with leaders from Sierra Leone, and my brother is here, Ethiopia, Namibia, Rwanda, and Zimbabwe, and to rely on their support to keep our partnership sharp and focused. I thank Denmark. Please give a round of applause to Denmark. I thank Germany. Please give a round of applause to Germany. The United Arab Emirates for their steadfast support since the inception of APRA as an idea. I take this opportunity to encourage the International Renewable Energy Agency, and I saw the CEO around, to enhance its support and hasten the deployment of renewables worldwide, and to empower APRA participants individually and collectively. In APRA, we must see more than an impressive and unambitious coalition pursuing a transformative one or two things about the items I have listed. The strategy is important because it localizes what we are doing. The plan is important because it measures what we are doing. And the law, helps us to do three things. When I signed the bill into law on Friday, just 4 days ago, three things were top on my mind. Number one, it gave us an opportunity to make the Climate Council youth-friendly. It brought young people into the discussion table. Young people are the greatest stakeholders of the future. Number two, it made it possible for communities to monetize their actions. That communities going forward, there will be a framework for them to share in the benefits that come from climate action. And number three, it made it possible for us to have a legal regime that we can protect our assets, and we can have government to government, private sector to private sector, in an ecosystem where legislation underpins undertaking to avoid any challenges that we have seen in the carbon market space. I did promise when we were in Sharm el-Sheikh that we are going to take the lead. Today, Kenya has taken the lead as the country that has the most activity in the carbon market space. We intend to take that lead even further by providing the legislation that will enable us do that. And two more things, just to contextualize what we are having here with the Africa Climate Summit. There are two fundamental issues here. Number one is the power of opportunity. Yes, we are suffering the effects of climate change. Yes, every village and every community is undergoing distress by drought, by other mechanisms. But we are looking at the opportunity. That's why we are investing. The same way we are saying in this Africa Climate Summit, in this climate change crisis, there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that we have opportunity to unlock the renewable assets available in our continent, whether they are minerals, whether they are energy, whether it is our young people, whether it is through smart agriculture, our arable land resources. We have an opportunity to turn the climate crisis into an opportunity for our continent. The same way we will want to do in every village in Kenya. And number two, the same way we are having a conversation in this summit about finance is the same way we are discussing money going to counties and going to every village. So it's a mirror of what we are doing at the Africa Climate Summit, so that everybody begins to realize that this conversation is not an abstract conversation. This is a real conversation about real issues, real people, real situations, and real opportunities. So we are having that conversation about financing the same way we are having a conversation about how are we resources. And we are making concrete proposals on how we can do that. We can use SDRs, we can use the balance sheet of the MDBs, we can discuss carbon tax, and we are going to be making very concrete proposals on how to raise that money. The same way we are having a concrete discussion here about the partners that are working with us to raise the resources that will go to the counties. One final request I want to make to my governors. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, whenever there is money for you, I do my very best to release that money. You are witnesses, even if you don't want to agree. Right? But now I have an